If your spouse passes away before you, the silence that follows is not just emotional, it is biological. It echoes through your nervous system, alters your hormones, reshapes your sleep, and even changes the rhythm of your heart. Grief is not only something you feel, it is something your cells experience. And after 60, when the body is already recalibrating itself for longevity, how you respond to that loss can determine whether you decline quietly or grow quietly stronger. Today, I want to offer you 5 essential truths, 5 mistakes to avoid, not from fear, but from science, and from deep respect for the human organism that you are. And remember, none of this advice replaces professional medical or psychological care. This reflection is for educational purposes only and not a substitute for personalized medical guidance. Even after profound loss, your body is still capable of strength. Your heart, both the emotional and the muscular one, is designed not only to break, but to beat on. When a spouse passes away, the absence is not confined to the empty chair at the table or the quiet side of the bed. It registers first in the nervous system. For decades, your brain has mapped the presence of one particular person as safety. Their voice, their footsteps, even the rhythm of their breathing during sleep became biological signals that told your body, you are not alone. You are secure. When that signal disappears, the brain does not interpret it as a simple change in circumstance. It interprets it as a disruption of safety. Deep inside the brain, the amygdala, the structure that scans for threat, becomes more alert. Cortisol, the stress hormone, rises. Heart rate may increase subtly. Inflammation markers in the blood can climb. Researchers have observed that prolonged loneliness correlates with higher risks of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and weakened immune response. This is not weakness of character. It is physiology responding to perceived isolation. After 60, this response can be even more pronounced. The body's resilience is still remarkable, but recovery processes are slower. Social interaction acts as a regulator. A simple conversation, a shared meal, even sitting quietly in the same room with another person helps stabilize heart rhythms through the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is like a communication highway between your brain and your heart, lungs, and digestive system. When stimulated by calm connection, by eye contact, gentle tone, or laughter, it shifts the body out of stress mode and into restoration. Isolation, on the other hand, can quietly magnify stress responses. Without social cues, the brain may drift toward rumination. Thoughts loop. Memories replay without balance. Sleep becomes lighter. Appetite shifts. Over time, this can create a cycle where the body remains in a low-grade inflammatory state. Chronic inflammation is linked to arthritis flare-ups, metabolic changes, and even accelerated aging of cells. Many widows and widowers tell themselves that withdrawing is dignified, that they do not want to burden others. But human biology was never designed for solitary endurance. Throughout evolution, survival depended on tribe, on shared vigilance, on collective warmth. Even today, your immune cells respond differently when you feel supported. Studies show that individuals with meaningful social ties produce stronger antibody responses to vaccines and recover more quickly from illness. Connection does not have to mean large gatherings or forced cheerfulness. It can be structured gently. A weekly phone call. A community class. Sitting in a park where other people walk by. Joining a walking group. Volunteering for a few hours. These small interactions create subtle yet measurable changes in blood pressure, hormone balance, and mood-regulating neurotransmitters like serotonin and oxytocin. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, is released during positive social contact. It lowers anxiety and softens the cardiovascular stress response. Even petting an animal or holding a grandchild's hand can stimulate this pathway. The body responds to warmth with warmth. Grief may whisper that retreat is safer. But biologically, gentle engagement is what protects the heart now. Not just emotionally, but electrically, hormonally, immunologically. Every time you choose to step into a shared space, you are signaling to your nervous system that the world is still navigable, that connection is still possible, that safety can be rebuilt in new forms through simple, human presence. When grief settles into the body, it often brings heaviness. The limbs feel slower, the spine bends forward, and the simple act of standing up can feel like effort without purpose. This is not just emotional fatigue. Grief alters neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which influence motivation and movement. The body begins conserving energy, as if preparing for a long winter. But after 60, prolonged stillness carries consequences that are quiet yet profound. Muscle is not only for strength, it is metabolic insurance. Every step you take signals your muscles to absorb glucose efficiently, stabilizing blood sugar and reducing strain on the pancreas. When movement decreases, insulin sensitivity declines, and energy regulation becomes less stable. Muscle fibers begin to shrink, a process known as age-related muscle loss, which accelerates rapidly without use. This affects balance, posture, and even breathing capacity. Movement also influences the brain. Physical activity increases blood flow to the hippocampus, the region responsible for memory and emotional processing. It stimulates the release of endorphins, natural chemicals that reduce pain perception and soften emotional distress. Even moderate walking enhances brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a compound that supports the survival of neurons and encourages new neural connections. You do not need intense exercise. The body responds to consistency more than intensity. A daily walk in natural light synchronizes your circadian rhythm. Gentle resistance exercises preserve bone density and joint stability. Stretching restores flexibility that stress quietly tightens. Each time you move, you communicate to your cells that life continues, that circulation must remain strong, that oxygen is still needed, that strength is still relevant, that your body remains an active participant in the unfolding days ahead. When a lifelong partner is gone, the nights often become the hardest territory to cross. Darkness amplifies memory. The brain, no longer anchored by a familiar breathing pattern beside you, becomes restless. Sleep may fragment into shallow intervals. You may wake at 2 a.m. with a racing heart, or lie still while thoughts replay conversations from years ago. This is not simply insomnia. It is the brain attempting to reorganize attachment pathways that were built over decades. During deep sleep, especially slow-wave sleep, the brain performs essential maintenance. Cerebrospinal fluid circulates more freely, clearing metabolic waste that accumulates during the day. Emotional memories are gently processed and integrated. The amygdala, which governs fear and stress responses, becomes less reactive after adequate rest. Without sufficient sleep, this recalibration does not fully occur. Cortisol remains elevated. Blood pressure rises. Insulin sensitivity declines. Over time, chronic sleep disruption increases the risk of cardiovascular strain and cognitive decline. After 60, sleep architecture naturally changes. Deep sleep phases become shorter, and the body is more sensitive to irregular schedules. This makes intentional sleep hygiene especially important. Waking at the same time each morning helps anchor the circadian clock. Exposure to early sunlight signals the brain to regulate melatonin production later at night. Reducing late evening stimulation, whether from bright screens or emotionally intense conversations, protects the fragile transition into rest. If thoughts surge before bed, writing them down can reduce mental looping. Gentle breathing practices slow the heart rate and activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Sleep is not an escape from grief. It is a biological workshop where the mind and body attempt repair, where memory softens its sharp edges, where the nervous system relearns safety in the quiet hours of the night. After loss, appetite often becomes unpredictable. Some people forget to eat because nothing tastes the same. Others reach instinctively for foods that promise quick comfort, sweet desserts, refined carbohydrates, or a nightly drink to soften the edge of silence. These responses are deeply human. Grief alters the brain's reward circuitry, particularly pathways involving dopamine. The body seeks rapid relief, something immediate and soothing. But after 60, the metabolic system is less forgiving of extremes. Food is not merely calories. It is molecular information. Every nutrient interacts with genes, hormones, and immune cells. Adequate protein becomes especially important with age because it supplies amino acids necessary for maintaining muscle mass and repairing tissues. Without sufficient protein, muscle breakdown accelerates, balance weakens, and recovery from illness slows. Omega-3 fatty acids help regulate inflammation and support brain health, while magnesium and B vitamins contribute to nerve stability and energy production. Excess sugar, however, can increase inflammatory markers and destabilize blood glucose, leading to energy crashes that worsen emotional fatigue. Alcohol may feel calming in the evening, but it fragments sleep cycles and reduces the amount of restorative deep sleep the brain requires. Over time, regular alcohol use can intensify depressive symptoms rather than relieve them. Grief can dull the signals of hunger and fullness, so gentle structure becomes protective. Regular mealtimes stabilize circadian rhythms and metabolic hormones. Simple, balanced meals, vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, healthy fats, provide steady energy instead of sharp spikes and drops. When you choose nourishing foods, you are not denying your sorrow. You are strengthening the biological foundation that allows you to carry it, giving your cells the tools they need to repair, regulate, and sustain you through long days of adjustment and quiet rebuilding. When you have shared decades with one person, your identity becomes interwoven in ways that are both visible and invisible. You are not only a husband or a wife, you are a partner in rituals, in private language, in shared decisions. When that bond ends, there is a subtle neurological disorientation. The brain has to update its internal map of who you are. Without conscious effort, some people allow that map to shrink. They begin to define themselves only by what they have lost. This contraction is understandable, but biologically limiting. The human brain retains plasticity well beyond 60. Neuroplasticity, the capacity to form new neural connections, does not disappear with age. It simply requires stimulation. Novel experiences activate dopamine pathways, which enhance motivation and reinforce learning. Engaging in meaningful activity increases levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that supports neuron survival and cognitive resilience. When identity narrows, behavior narrows with it. Days become repetitive. Conversations decrease. The brain, receiving fewer new inputs, reduces its adaptive flexibility. Over time, this can influence mood stability and cognitive sharpness. Purpose, on the other hand, acts as an organizing force. Studies on aging populations consistently show that individuals with a sense of direction, whether through volunteering, mentoring, creative pursuits, or continued learning, exhibit lower levels of depression and better overall health outcomes. You are not only the one who survived. You are still a thinking, adapting organism capable of growth. Learning a new skill, joining a community initiative, exploring a long-delayed interest, these are not distractions from grief. They are biological invitations to expand again, to remind your nervous system that the story of who you are is still being written through curiosity, contribution, and conscious engagement. If this message speaks to you, subscribe for more science-based wisdom on healthy aging and emotional resilience, share this video with someone who may need strength today, and comment below with one step you are ready to take toward living peacefully and strong after 60.